scientists. A comparison on the state of AI highlights accelerated adoption to 88% of organizations.
Hey everyone, and welcome. Look, we all know AI is the biggest topic on the planet right now. But what's actually happening inside the companies that are using it? Today, we are going to pull back the curtain and look at the huge gap between all the AI hype and the real-world results. All right, let's just kick things off with a massive number. A recent global survey from McKinsey found that a whopping 88% of companies are now using AI in some way. I mean, think about that. That's up from 72% just a year ago. So AI adoption isn't just some trend anymore. It's pretty much everywhere. And right, that leads us to the real billion-dollar question. If almost everybody is on board, you'd think we'd be seeing these massive, game-changing transformations, wouldn't you? Well, the truth is, it's a whole lot messier than that. And that's the big puzzle we're going to solve today. So it turns out the biggest problem for most companies is something that experts are calling the pilot trap. And this is exactly where all those good intentions and big dreams kind of hit a brick wall. So what is this pilot trap exactly? Well, it's this incredibly frustrating loop of just endless testing. A company will launch a small AI project, right? And they'll see a little glimmer of promise, and then they just do it again and again. They get totally stuck in this experimentation phase and never actually scale these projects up to where they could make a real, meaningful difference. And this visualizes the trap perfectly. Just look at this breakdown. Nearly 2/3 of all companies are still just running on that treadmill, stuck in the experimentation phase. Only a third have actually managed to start scaling AI in a big way. That is a huge, huge gap between just trying stuff and actually succeeding. And you can really see the results of being stuck in this trap when you look at the money. Only 39% of companies say they've seen any kind of positive impact on their earnings, their EBIT, which is a key measure of profitability. For the majority, over 60%, all this AI activity hasn't added a single penny to their profits. Nothing. And this is where it gets even crazier. For that small group of companies that are seeing a return, the impact is tiny. For most of them, the boost to their earnings is less than 5%. So you have this massive, widespread adoption, but for almost everyone, the financial payoff is basically a rounding error. But here's the twist. Just as businesses are struggling with all this, the technology itself is taking another giant leap. We're talking about moving past simple chatbots and into the age of AI agents. These are autonomous systems that can actually handle complex, multi-step jobs all by themselves. And companies are jumping on this fast. 62% are already playing around with these advanced agents. We're talking about an AI that doesn't just answer a question, but can actually manage a whole workflow, like handling an entire IT ticket from the moment it comes in to the moment it's resolved. The speed of adoption is just incredible. So this brings us to a really critical moment. Are these super powerful new agents the silver bullet? Are they the thing that's finally going to help companies break out of the pilot trap and get some real scale? Or could they just be a fancier, more expensive way to stay stuck? Okay, so to figure that out, let's look at the small group of companies that aren't trapped at all. These are the ones who've totally cracked the code on AI, and, well, what they're doing is completely different from everyone else. It turns out only about 6% of companies are what researchers call high performers. These are the ones generating real, significant value. We're talking a 5% or more impact on their earnings, and they're doing it across their entire business, not just in one little corner. So what's their secret sauce? Well, it really boils down to a 3-part playbook. First, they're not just trying to save a little money here and there. They are aiming for a total transformation of their business. Second, they don't just shoehorn AI into their old clunky processes, they completely redesign how work gets done. And third, they back it all up with serious investment and total buy-in from the top brass. And this right here really shows you that first point about ambition. High performers are 3 times more likely than everybody else to be using AI for these huge transformative goals, like creating brand new products or entirely new business models. They're not just playing for small wins. And you know what? They put their money where their mouth is. A third of these top companies are spending more than 20% of their entire digital budget on AI. They aren't just dipping their toes in the water. They are making a massive strategic bet that AI is the future. This quote from the survey just sums it all up perfectly. It's not about how many AI pilots you're running. It's about the strategy you have. Just trying to be a little more efficient, well, that's a dead end. The real value, the big prize, comes from transformation. Now, when you go big with AI like this, it has real consequences. So let's talk about the human side of things, the impact on jobs, the risks you run into, and what this new reality actually looks like. When you look at the workforce, it's a mixed bag. While almost half of companies think things will stay about the same, there's a pretty big group, nearly a third, who now expect that scaling AI is going to lead to cutting jobs. But at the same time, hiring for people with AI skills is through the roof. So you have this weird dynamic of both displacement and huge demand. And as AI gets bigger, so do the risks. This is so important. More than half of all organizations, 51%, say they've already had something go wrong because of their AI. This isn't some far-off theoretical problem. It's happening right now. So what kind of things are going wrong? Well, the number one problem affecting a third of companies is just plain old inaccuracy, the AI just getting things wrong. But right behind that are these huge issues like cybersecurity threats, accidentally infringing on intellectual property, and major privacy violations. Suddenly, managing all this risk is a huge part of doing AI right. This really puts the whole journey into perspective. I mean, just last year, in 2024, everyone was just talking about the initial hype, right? The first few experiments with generative AI. Now, in 2025, the whole conversation is different. The problem isn't hype anymore. It's this stubborn pilot trap. And the solution isn't just winning in a small niche. It's about having a complete, business-wide playbook. So as we wrap all this up, the big takeaway is crystal clear. The debate over if companies should be doing AI, that's over. The only question that matters anymore is how they're going to do it. Will they stay stuck in that trap, running endless little experiments? Or are they going to follow the leaders? And that leaves us with one final thing for you to think about. When you look at your own company, or the ones you follow, ask yourself this. Is their AI strategy really built for transformation, to redesign how everything works, to invest for the future? Or is it just built to run a few more experiments? Because the answer to that question is probably going to decide who wins and who loses in the next decade.